Broward Health, our flagship hospital opened in January 2nd, 1938. So for more than 75 years, we have been the safety net hospital for Broward County, the northern two-thirds of Broward County. Since then, we have grown to 4 hospitals. We have a children's hospital. We have an outpatient center, urgent care centers, and more than 30 clinics and ancillary facilities.
Well, welcome everybody. We appreciate you being here on the last day. I know everyone's probably ready to get to the airport, but we really appreciate everyone being here. Today's presentation, we're hoping at the end that you guys will be able to understand and describe the 4 distinct generations that are currently searching and looking for healthcare services. We're going to talk a little bit about a multi-channel marketing strategy, so hopefully you'll have a good understanding of what the different components are. And then lastly, recognizing really how Jennifer and Broward Health understand where they are kind of in the healthcare landscape and how that's really driven their decisions to expand their digital marketing to meet the ever-changing generational landscape. I'm just going to let you guys read that slide. All right, so this slide is a great infographic from Fluency Media. It really describes the 3 keys to healthcare marketing online right now. Number 1 is reaching the right audience, right? So there's all these different generations. There's all these different tools out there to reach people. The key is figuring out who the right audience is, whether it's current patients, prospective patients, current physicians you're trying to recruit, internal staff, whoever it might be. Defining that audience is very important. Being specific, right? Creating specific targeted content and information that's going to generate specific conversation around your brand, your services. That's very important. Creating shareable content and sharing that content through the right channels is very important, right? There's all these different channels. All the different channels have different nuances to them. You can't really blast the same message across all the channels. You need to be fine-tuning that message to the channel that you're using. So there's really 3 shifts going on right now in healthcare as well, really in life. The first one, and I want you guys to participate a little bit, get our blood flowing. If you have one of these, if you have a smartphone, if you have a tablet, can you hold it up in the air? And just kind of look around. So 98% of the people in this room have either holding up 1 or even 2 of these devices, right? This is a huge shift. This has changed, the way that we communicate. So the second shift is how are people consuming information and content on these things? This is how we're doing it, right? It's like this. My 4.5-year-old son and 2.5-year-old daughter consume content like this, right? Jennifer and I consume content like this. My 60-year-old in-laws, they consume content like this. It's a constant stream, right, of information and news. So how do you stand out in that stream? That's part of what we're going to talk about today. And then the third shift really is what the focus of this presentation is, and that's the generational shift in healthcare. So for the first time, really ever, there's 4 distinct generations that are searching for and looking for healthcare services. So we're going to talk about each of those generations. They each have unique characteristics that define them, and they have unique values that they place importance on when it comes to choosing healthcare services. And then ultimately we want to show you how to communicate and reach each of those generations effectively, because that's critical right now and it's critical moving forward. So.
And these are the 4 distinct generations that we have broken it down into for this presentation. The dates change a little bit depending on which publication you're looking for, but generally speaking, these are pretty close to the actual age breakdown. Pre-baby boomers, baby boomers, Generation X, and Generation Y. And at Broward Health, it's pretty interesting because of where we're located and the different generations that we have. We see all of these people on a daily basis, and it's a different mix at each of our hospitals, which makes it challenging because, we have certain senior populations at one of our hospitals, whereas maybe a different hospital is very a younger people coming to that. It's new families, young families with young children. So it's very different at each of our hospitals. So from a corporate level and from also regional level, it's a very different message and targeting at each facility.
All right, so the first generation we'll talk about is the pre-baby boomers. So this is really actually like my parents' generation, and my parents are probably on the extreme end of they pretty much use no technology at all. I mean, my mom can email a little bit, but they have flip phones from 1997. They don't have smartphones. My dad doesn't email, doesn't do any of that stuff. This generation is really cost conscious when it comes to making buying decisions. My parents are not going to go online and research doctors. They're not even going to ask their friends. They're going to take the recommendation of their primary care physician, and they're going to go see whatever specialist that person recommends. They grew up after the Great Depression, during World War II, so again, they are really cost conscious about what they're doing, and even when it comes to healthcare. My mom has some issues right now, and it's like I'm trying to get her to go, see one specialist, and she's looking at another guy because she thinks it's going to be cheaper, and it's like, you got to choose the right physician, not necessarily the cost. And again, I'd say my parents are probably on the far end of that spectrum. This generation, along with the baby boomers, are actually the fastest growing generations using Facebook, which is interesting. So I think you're starting to see this generation use technology. I think it's, they have grandkids and their kids are on Facebook, so they want to see pictures of the grandkids, and that's driving a lot of their usage of these tools, and it's definitely increasing. So again, my parents maybe not the ideal example, but they're at kind of the far end of the spectrum.
Yeah, so baby boomers is actually my parents' generation. I think my parents, similar to Ted, they are on the extreme end of this. They have cell phones, but not smartphones. Same deal with the flip phones. They do email, although it is sporadic. My dad hates email and texting. I cannot catch my dad on a text message ever. So I can catch my mom. She texts pretty good. She's always shopping and texting me pictures of things. But, it varies. But, having grown up in this dramatic social change after World War II, it sort of shapes a lot of how they shop and how they act and how they react to marketing techniques. And so it seems, that baby boomers are influenced by traditional marketing methods, print and television and radio, and a little bit by email. We've seen that the email seems to be a pretty good channel to reach this type of audience. But, as far as online, it seems that there's some adoption, but it's a little bit more hesitant than the younger generation. So they're not going to go online to research a doctor maybe as much as they're going to ask a friend or relative or ask their primary care physician. It's just a little bit more hesitant.
So Generation X, that's really my generation. I guess I would say I'm influenced heavily by online digital marketing, but I'm also still influenced by traditional marketing. I think our generation kind of grew up during the MTV age and television, so TV ads growing up were definitely impactful, but as, DVRs have come along, it's rare that I watch a TV commercial anymore, but I'm still, I still read magazines, I still read the newspaper, so I'm still influenced by some of those things. But, we were really the first generation to use computers in meaningful ways. I can remember being in school and using the Apple, was it the 2G or one of those first Macs that came out. And, from a buying standpoint or a buying decision standpoint, I go online, I definitely do research, through Google and ask friends. And, it's amazing to see how many people now on Facebook and some of these other platforms ask, questions like, hey, I need a pediatrician. Who do you guys use? And you get feedback that way. So I definitely do that. And I think this generation's in a unique position because a lot of us have kids now, and we also have parents that are getting older. So we're almost in the position of making healthcare decisions not only for ourselves, but for our kids, and then also trying to help our parents. So it's an interesting generation when you think about marketing to them.
So Generation Y is our young generation. This says after 1985, so technically I'm Generation X, but if you look up a lot of the traits, I tend to identify more with Generation Y, so I'm probably on the way beginning of this one. But, generally Generation Y lives and breathes with their mobile device. So every single thing you do is online and you are always connected. I can promise you I am never more than 10 feet from my cell phone at any given time. And, it's just part of life. It's not an afterthought to go somewhere and check in on Foursquare, or to tweet about it, or to go on Facebook and share pictures of what my dog did this afternoon, or where I'm going on vacation, or any of those things. It's just sort of, part of life. And so that's really affected how this generation reacts to marketing. So my husband and I both, we live through our DVR. We never watch live television anymore, and we never watch commercials. So I could not tell you what the popular commercials are right now because we don't watch them. And, everything that we do, Generation Y does, is it's online. So if you need to buy something, you order it online. If you need a review about the new movie, you go online and you read reviews. If you want to watch a movie, you download it on Netflix. So it's just all very online based. And so, for the first time, we've got to rethink how we're connecting with these people. They're not coming to their primary care physician. I mean, a lot of them are younger, but especially the people my age, they're not going to their doctor and saying, hey, I have this issue. They're going on WebMD and they're saying, I have this issue, and they're trying to treat it themselves. So, reaching this audience is very, very challenging.
So we asked a question earlier, right? How do you reach all these different generations now? Like I said, there's 4 distinct generations, and they have different characteristics. So a multi-channel marketing approach is really the best way to do it. And a little bit later, we're going to look at exactly how Broward attacks the market using this type of strategy. But you can see that there's a number of different things involved in the multi-channel strategy. Keys really include being consistent, being open to using new technologies. Right, there's new platforms being developed every day. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but Facebook the other day just paid $16 billion for a company called WhatsApp. And if you've never heard of that, it's basically like a texting platform that's really popular with teenage kids and high school kids. And they're averaging something like 1 million new users a day. So I mean, there's platforms like that being created every day that people are communicating through. So you have to be flexible and willing to try some of those things. And Broward has reached out a little bit and started using some of these new technologies, so we'll talk about that. And really, I think the overall key to this type of strategy is being able to track results. And so digital strategy or digital marketing versus traditional, it's far easier to track metrics and track results using digital versus non-digital, right? I mean, it's easier to see how many hits or people are visiting your website versus how many people saw the billboard or the magazine ad that you put out. So from that standpoint, it's kind of the complete picture. It's multiple channels, it's being engaging, it's being consistent across the platforms, and being able to track results. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper, and Jennifer's going to talk about some of the strategies that they're using to try to reach these different generations.
Thanks. So, like Ted said, one of the things, we are doing all the traditional marketing campaign methods for any standard campaign. We do radio and television commercials. We have a PR department who pitches stories to the media. We have billboards and print ads in all the local newspapers. But one of the things that it's becoming a little easier for us, because we've been doing it for a few years now, is really integrating digital marketing efforts into our campaigns. It's becoming it's not as much of an afterthought now. It's something that we have. It's a line item at the beginning of a campaign. So we say, okay, let's add some Cube ads for this campaign, or let's do some search engine marketing, or whatever it is. So one of the reasons that we're, like Ted mentioned, that we're doing this is, it's inexpensive. Digital media is very inexpensive to produce. You don't have printing costs and mail, postage, and all of those things. It's also really easy to implement if you have the right resources. You can reach a lot of people with very little effort, so it's very scalable. In addition, it's easy to target the right audience, to make sure that the right audience is getting the right message. So depending on the channel, you can really fine-tune the messaging and make sure that you're getting out to the right people. And finally, like you said, the tracking is awesome. I love data and I love tracking and seeing how much people are using the different things and are they coming to the website, and is this newspaper's Q ad getting better traffic than this other newspaper's Q ad, and who's clicking on this, and are they clicking on it in the morning or in the afternoon? And I'm sort of a junkie for that kind of stuff, but it's really, really cool to be able to see how people act and behave online and what's really driving. So these are sort of the digital marketing components that we use. We have, these are the things that we're going to talk about. I think, Ted, you were going to talk about this one.
Oh, yes. So Broward obviously uses this multi-channel approach. These are some of the different tools that they're using. Social media, obviously, they've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, so YouTube. They do digital newsletters, so they do online e-newsletters. They have some in-house technologies, video boards in the hospital that are displaying information for people. And then one of the things we'll talk about a little bit later that I don't know why, but I get very fired up about is the interactive experiences that they're doing. And I think when we get there, we'll talk more about it. But I think it's sort of the next evolution of this whole digital strategy. And then the last thing really that they've done recently is responsive web design. So, focusing on this or a tablet and making their website responsive so that it reacts to the device that they're using.
Okay, so the responsive design, we'll talk about that first. In our original mobile site launched in January 2011. At that time, our mobile traffic to the website was a little under 18%, but it had been growing pretty steadily, and it's continued to grow since that time. We started our mobile responsive website design journey in 2012. At that time, our mobile traffic to the website was a little over 26%. And actually in December this year, for the first time, our mobile traffic was over 40% to our website, which is huge numbers for us. And that's mobile traffic, not mobile and tablet combined. So it's very interesting to see how much the mobile has grown, and I think a lot of it is just, the demographics in our area, and being in South Florida, people are a little bit more connected, I think, than other markets. But we have to adapt and make sure that our website and the information that we want people to have about Broward Health is out there and that they can get to it no matter what they want to use. So this is our previous website. We launched this website in January of 2009. And, at that time, it was a good website. It lasted us, obviously, 5 years. And, at the time, we had very different organizational structure as a system. Our hospitals operated a little bit more independently. And, but over time, we've added more pages and more pages and more pages. And our architectural structure didn't really change and adapt to meet those new pages. And the way people have used the internet has obviously changed since 2009. And the final straw, if you will, was in 2012. Our hospitals changed their names, and we finally pulled everybody in under a corporate umbrella structure. So this format on the site really didn't meet our strategic goals anymore. It really wasn't functioning from a technical perspective, and it was just time for a change. So this is our new site, and it's responsive. This is the desktop version. And, before we started this, we really spent a lot of time looking at how people use our website. What information are they looking for? How are they getting it? When are they getting it? What kind of device are they on when they're getting it? Where are they clicking on things? Is it at the top? Is it in the middle? Is it right at eyeline? We spent a lot of time looking at the data and really figuring out what people were looking for and using the website for. In addition to that, we spent a lot of time on our strategic goals. What do we have that we need to get out there? What do we want people to find on our website? What are our goals? What do people need to know about us that maybe they're not getting? What roadblocks are they encountering to get to that message? And so we took all of this data and we rolled it all up and we came up with a new design, and we launched it about a month ago. And so far, I think it's doing well. Time will tell, if what we have put out there is working the way that we want it to. We'll continue to monitor the traffic and monitor the bounce rates and things like that and see, where maybe we need to continue some tweaking. But it's great because it's very flexible and it'll hopefully allow us to grow in a way that the previous site wouldn't let us. All right, so another communication of ours is social media. We have a ton of different Facebook pages. We have Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube and basically all the big ones. But it's really grown over the last number of years, and we've finally gotten to a point where it's very easy for us to integrate our social media into our campaigns. So, we know if ahead of time when we're running a campaign, if we want to do dedicated Facebook posts or paid ads on Facebook, or if we want to do a Twitter campaign around it. And it's a lot easier for us to implement these things. In addition to that, one of the things that I really think is important is that we make sure that not only do we tailor each message to each channel, but we know who our audience is on each channel. There are metrics available to us. We know that our Facebook audience is a different user mix than our Twitter audience and our Instagram audience because we have that data. So it's important for us to make sure that when we're putting these messages out there, that we're talking to the right people and we have the right tone and the right message. In addition, the social media really allows us to stay flexible. We can monitor things mid-campaign. So unlike a billboard or a print schedule or an ad schedule that you have to put out months in advance, if something's not working, we change it. And it's very easy to implement those changes in a timely manner. All right, newsletters. This is an area, like I mentioned before, that I think is very good for certain audiences. Like you can see our largest demographic there is ages 45 to 54. That's our current email database list. And so I think that it's a good opportunity to reach certain age groups, and the boomers and seniors especially, I think they really do. Our open rate shows that they are opening those emails and clicking on our emails. Historically, our resources have not been there to be able to really, really maximize this channel, but it's one of the things that we're looking at and hoping to continue to grow over the next few years and really take advantage of this as a channel to reach this particular demographic. All right, and then in-hospital experiences. This is something that's pretty new for us. The technology has sort of gotten to the point where we want to take advantage of it. The costs have come down a little bit on some of these things. But some of the things that we've done, we've added digital billboards in some of our hospitals, which I don't know if you guys have the digital billboards, but basically it's just a really, really large television screen that sits in the lobby and it changes ads all the time. And we don't have the interactive ones like you see in the mall sometimes, but hopefully that will be something that we can continue to grow, and as the technology changes, take advantage of those. But because this is new, one of the things that we really haven't done yet is strategize them. So we have the technology, we have the devices in the hospitals, and they're putting ads on them, but we don't really know, are people using them? Are they looking at them? Are they reacting to them? So one of the things that we need to start being better about is, having some sort of tracking mechanism, whether it's a QR code or a link, a dedicated phone number, so that we can figure out, who's using these ads and are they working, and not only that, but then in the future start to actually integrate them into campaigns, so we're taking advantage of them. And then in addition to that, some opportunities I've been in presentations, people have the bedside tablets, the TV that's connected to the EMR. There's so many opportunities to really connect with people. But like I said, this is something that we're still exploring and putting our toes in the water.
So this is now the out-of-hospital interactive experiences. And like I said earlier, this is something I think that Broward does really well. And it's, I think outside of healthcare, this is happening a ton, and it's starting to happen more in healthcare. And it's really about combining, digital marketing, non-digital marketing, and driving in-person engagement with people, right? So one of the sort of strikes against digital marketing when you talk to someone that is a hater, it's that it's non-personal and it's all online, and it's, you're not having the type of engagement that you have when you're face to face with someone. So this type of strategy is all about creating, interesting and engaging events, and driving using those tools to actually drive people to interact with the hospital in person. And Broward has a number of examples of how they've done that and how they've tracked, the results and what types of tools that they've used. And Jen will talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, like Ted was mentioned, one of the great things about these interactive experiences is they allow us to sort of combine the digital and the face-to-face. So, it's something that engages people and gets them interested, but ultimately leads them to talk to a physician or come in for an appointment. The Powerful You at the bottom, we have an exhibit at the local museum, the Museum of Discovery and Science in Fort Lauderdale. It's a really cool exhibit where kids can go and see how the heart beats, and there's we have some technology ones, so you can actually use the CyberKnife, and they can pretend to pick up spoons and stuff, and it's it's very, very cool and gets them kind of interested in it. The Interactive Heart exhibit is a inflatable heart that you can walk through, and it's educational. It's pretty neat. We have the same thing for the breast exhibit during Mammapalooza. Mammapalooza is actually a really big one, and we'll get to that one in a few minutes. And then the last one is the Man Van. The Man Van is new for us. It just launched in June of last year, and it's really cool. So it used to actually be our mobile mammography unit, but that got disbanded. So then we renovated the van, and now it is for mobile screenings for men's health. So they do cholesterol and all the different kinds of screenings that you can do easily when you go out into the community. And the van travels all over and goes to community events, and they're working on getting more corporate screenings and trying to reach a little bit more scheduled, because cholesterol you have to fast, and so there's been some logistical issues we're still working through, but it's really, really cool. We're getting a lot of buzz from it. And actually, we have a little short video, and you can see it.
And in today's HealthCast, when it comes to taking care of themselves, women may have a big advantage over men. Census data shows that women do live, on an average, 7 years longer than men do, in part because we go in for our regular medical screenings and our doctor visits. Here's how one local hospital group, though, is trying to get men to be a bit more proactive with their health. The Man Van hits the streets looking for men who haven't been looking after their health.
We do a head-to-toe checkup in 30 minutes or less.
On this day, outside an office building right near the courthouse in Fort Lauderdale.
Hi, Lisa. Nice to meet you.
You want to stand on this?
Yeah, sure.
The first step for Michael Bazzini, height and weight. Then 9 more screenings, which include blood pressure, kidney, cholesterol, prostate, and diabetes checks.
I was screened and I have extremely high blood pressure, so I'm going to go get that taken care of. I have a follow-up with one of the doctors from the Broward Health organization here.
They said my pulse was a little low and I'm on a medication causing that, so I should probably go back to my cardiologist.
Michael Oback is going to urge his coworkers to get themselves checked out too.
I'm going to tell them it's been an interesting lunch hour. I didn't expect to have medical tests done, but I saw the van and I said, why not?
How tall are you?
6'1".
It's quick screenings like these that doctors hope alert men to more serious problems.
50% of people who have acute coronary syndromes, heart attacks, they don't have symptoms until the event comes.
I'm done?
Yes.
Wow. It was definitely quick, painless, nice and easy. It's not something that anybody needs to be afraid of.
And we should tell you those screenings are $75, which in some cases are covered by insurance plans. To find out how to schedule a Man Van visit to your area, log on to local10.com and click on the Lifestyle tab on our homepage to find this story in our health section.
Yeah, and all of that footage that you guys saw on the video there, that was all on the van. So it's like a really big RV, and they perform the screenings right on the van. It's very roomy. When we opened we had the grand opening celebration of the Man Van, we had some Miami Dolphins players, and we had 4 Miami Dolphins players and their wives and me and a couple of our CEO and some other people on the bus at the same time, and there was plenty of room. So it's very, very roomy. It's nice.
I love the Man Van.
Okay, so these are some of the metrics that we use in any given campaign for digital purposes. We have the main thing that I'm always tracking, just sort of as an easy gauge of how things are going, is page views to our website. That one's pretty easy. But, we're also tracking things like, especially online appointment requests. Obviously, the goal of any actionable campaign is, are people making appointments? And so in addition to the calling our health line, it's called the Broward Health Line, where that you can call and request an appointment. We are also tracking online. So are they making appointments online? After a campaign, we definitely try and track the visitor path. So where are they landing? I put tracking URLs on everything. So, did they click on a banner? Did they click on a link? Or did they click on the video or whatever? So we can sort of track, how they navigated and how they worked. So we take these things and we push them forward to future campaigns. What works, what didn't. And that helps us continually improve. Okay, Mammapalooza case study. You guys can download the presentation and read all of this. I know this is a lot, but I'm going to hit the bullet notes. So the Mammapalooza is an awesome example of how we use all of these different tactics, because we have a lot of traditional media. We have ads in the newspaper. We have radio. We haven't done TV yet, but we do a lot. We have billboards. We do a lot of traditional media. But it's been really fun because it's a fun campaign. We do a lot of online media, and online we have a full targeted landing page on the website. We do a lot of social media integration. So we have hashtags, special hashtags for Mammapalooza and everything. And so it's really a good example of how we use sort of the whole gamut of available techniques for us and put them all together into one campaign. We also have it's been very, very successful at Mammapalooza over the last few years, which I'll show you here. In 2012, we had over 4,000 mammograms performed. This was in a 5-week period. And we brought in a little over 1,600 new patients. We had 146 Facebook appointment requests. That says appointment requests. That was just through Facebook. We had over 600 total online appointment requests for this campaign. And again, that was in a 5-week period. So that's really in 2012, it really, really jumped up. People really engaged with us, and it turned out really well. So this is one of those that it's not a very expensive campaign. In fact, in 2013, we actually had about a third of the budget that we had in 2012, but it's been very, very successful.
All right, so really to kind of summarize everything Jen just talked about, Broward is continuing to evolve their processes, right? I mean, this is an iterative process. The strategy is ever changing as the landscape continues to change. The multi-channel approach that they use allows them to target those specific audiences, like Jen was saying with the e-newsletters, for instance. They know the demographics. They're on Facebook. They know what age range and what the breakdown is of men versus women, and it allows them to target messaging specific to those audiences. They've learned a lot, obviously, and we'll talk in a minute about some of those lessons learned, but certain things work, certain things don't. And as Jen said, one of the great things about digital is that you can change stuff on the fly. You're not committed to the strategy, and that makes it very flexible. And then obviously tracking results, like we've been talking about this whole time, that's so key, and it's very easy to do, using this type of strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the things that we've really, like everybody else, they're growing pains. So QR codes were really popular a few years ago, and I know there's QR codes all over this conference, but for us, they really haven't worked. We've put them on different ads, and nobody clicks on them. We got like 3 clicks on one that we put, and it was really, really disappointing. And so, you just have to try, and we have to be willing to try these different things and see what works. And then if it works, use the heck out of it.
Oh,
Whoops.
Sorry. I hit the button, so did you.
Okay. You do it.
All right,
Lessons learned.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about this. So maybe, Jen, why don't you just talk a little bit about the sort of the investment from a monetary and time standpoint that you spend digital versus, sort of traditional marketing.
Yeah. So the monetary investment. Can you guys hear me with this mic now? No. Okay. The monetary investment is resources. I mean, we do paid online search, we do paid Facebook ads, and we're starting to really investigate a lot of what's working, what's not working, and really maximizing our dollars. But, a lot of it is really just internal resources. So there's me, and I have a specialist now, and it's, what can we do? Can we pull together a bunch of cube ads in a couple of hours and get them online? Or, can we create banners for everywhere and just splash it all over the place? And, there's really not a lot of investment as far as digital marketing goes, and which is great. It really allows us to be very flexible, and if it doesn't work, then we stop doing it.
I mean, do you know off the top of your head what the breakdown is of sort of just percentage-wise, like how much of your budget you think goes towards?
It's really little. It's like it's like less than 3%.
Okay. So what would you say is the hardest lesson that you guys have learned going through this digital process?
So one of the things that we did, which is actually talking about here, posting rules up front on social media, we ran a contest a couple years ago on Facebook, and it was the Cutest Kid contest. And it was great. We got a lot of people sending in pictures and then voting on the pictures and then creating fake Facebook accounts to vote on their kid's picture, and then it got bad. So the best thing that I always tell people is if you're going to be doing anything that involves online, run it by legal, run it by compliance. Make sure that if you're doing anything that involves any type of giveaway or contest or anything like that, get the rules, get them posted, make sure everything is clear, because otherwise it could be a mess. And we worked with our legal team a few years ago, and we have a standard set of rules. We use them for everything, and now we can create campaigns on the fly because I have that template, and they have vetted everything, and they say, yeah, you can do that. And I have a set of rules, and I know that I'm not allowed to, conduct a lottery in Florida because it's illegal. We have to run a sweepstakes. Like those kinds of things, you need to know those things because, especially on social media with things going viral, it can get out of hand very quickly. So the best thing you can do is to just be prepared up front.
Can you talk maybe a little bit about just what the, kind of the greatest or the best lesson, that's come out of this process?
The best thing that you can probably do, for me, I think it's being flexible, right? So technology, you guys know, technology changes so fast. And the new channels like WhatsApp selling to Facebook. I mean, nobody had even heard of that 6 months ago. So things change so quickly. And for us, I'm very, very lucky. I'm granted a lot of autonomy to be able to create an Instagram account for Broward Health without a lot of pushback because we want to see if it works, and it has. And, they allow me to let's create a Pinterest page for Broward Health and pen some recipes and sleep diagnostic studies and things like that, and let's see if it works. And so the best thing I can say is to be flexible and be willing to try these things. And, but, you have to monitor it. You have to be aware of what's going on because, what I always say is it doesn't matter if we're using it or not, everybody else is. So we might as well be in a place and, if nothing else, make sure that the information that is online about Broward Health is the correct information. And for us to control that information and make sure that it's correct, we have to be involved in those channels.
All right. So, through the multi-channel strategy, Broward has really improved their communication across the board with, current patients, prospective patients, staff, and that's really resulted in increased satisfaction across all of those audiences. So that's all we got for today, guys. But if there's questions, please step up to the microphone here, and Jennifer or I would be happy to answer them. Thank you.
I've got two questions. One is on the marketing side. My wife used to work in marketing, and there's like 22 different market segments, single mothers with children, seniors, the whole thing. Do you use that type of targeted marketing? And did you go out and buy, data down to the street level or home level?
Well, it depends on the campaign. So we have an agency of record who helps us with a lot of our really big campaigns. And so before we start any campaign, yes, we identify our target audience. So for Mammapalooza, it's going to be women over the age of 45. And so we know that's our target. So depending on our methods, if we know we want to do a mailer, then yes, we would work with the local newspaper to maybe purchase a list of women over age 45 who are insured in that area, the zip codes that we want, and then send a mailer out, right? But it depends on the campaign.
But even within that, right, the mailer might not be effective for the various market segments.
Correct.
So seniors might like a email or whatever, but nobody at your age is going to look at a newsletter.
No, I don't.
So you'd have to have different products that you send out.
Absolutely,
to the
yes.
different segments.
And, one of the things that we're trying to do, one of our hospitals has started a mailer with a Pearl on it, the little personalized URL, and it's for new movers in our area, and they're targeting seniors. So we're testing it. We're going to see if it works. I'm not convinced that it's going to work. I think it's probably a little bit, it's like the QR code. I think it's not the right audience for that. I mean, I think they may get the mailer and they may call the phone number, but I don't think they're going to go on the web and use their little personalized URL to fill out an online form. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And, we just have to kind of keep testing it with different things.
So my follow-up is, once you've sent these all out, do you have a way of really seeing if it increased your market share or the number of appointments you got per segment?
Yeah, so right now we don't have a CRM or anything like that, so it is difficult. But we are able to, through a lot of manual labor, figure out, we can tell what's working through different methods like that, like is the mailer working?
Do you do a baseline or a blank, so you have one segment where you don't send?
We're not doing that yet.
Okay.
That's part of the CRM product that we're trying to implement. We're like in that process. But yeah, the control group type will be part of our CRM product that we're trying to implement.
Thank you.
But we do have, for a lot of campaigns, especially the really big ones, we have customized phone numbers. So for a newspaper ad, one newspaper will get one phone number, and it's dedicated for the only time that phone number appears is on those ads. And then if we have a mailer, then that mailer will get that phone number. And then we can track. So we know any sort of traditional methods, which we can gauge a little bit better which one is working. But you're right, are we targeting the right people? Is that zip code really the right zip code that we want to be targeting? We do have a strategic planning department, and before we start a campaign, they kind of tell us, this is the zip code and the demographic we want to target, so focus on them. But yeah, I mean, for traditional marketing, it's anybody's guess, right? Because unless you can track it, you don't know.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much. This is really relevant to me. I had two questions. First question is, did you guys use any sort of front-end framework for your responsive design, or did you start from scratch, and why?
We started from scratch.
Oh, you did? Okay. But why? I'm just curious.
BrowardHealth.org is a huge site, and we built a wireframe, but no, it was 100% custom. So we worked with CareTech, and they built us everything. And we spent so much time determining what we needed. It didn't make sense to use a template. It was like, this is what we want, and this is what we need, and this is how we're going to build it.
Okay. Second question, a mobile-first strategy requires you to prioritize content. Can you talk about some techniques that you use to do that?
Yeah. So before, and Ted can jump in too, but before we started our responsive design journey, like I was saying, we spent a lot of time on the analytics. So we pulled a lot of data, especially from our Google Analytics, because we've had, one of the first things I did when I started with Broward Health was install Google Analytics. So we have Google Analytics going back on our website as far back as 2007. So what I did is, especially now, it's funny because when we started, Google was sort of changing the analytics. Like it was like right in the middle of where I was pulling all of this. Like it's so much easier now to pull mobile data on Google Analytics than it was a year ago because they've completely changed the whole platform. But at the time, we managed to figure it out. So what we did was we went through and we pulled our top pages. So overall, these are the top pages on our site. And they're pretty standard, right? Like find a physician, locations and directions, contact us, financial assistance. I mean, it's sort of the ones you would expect, right? So then we went through and I said, okay, that's the top pages on the site. But what are people using when they're on their mobile device? So through Google Analytics, we went through and we pulled our top pages on mobile. And we pulled our top pages on a tablet. And because we have 5 different hospitals, I went and I did that on the hospital level. So I did it overall for the entire BrowardHealth.org, but then I did each hospital and I pulled what is their top mobile traffic, what is their top desktop traffic, and what is the top overall combined. And then we took all of that information and tried to find some standard threads, right? So like everybody wanted locations and directions. I mean, that's sort of a given. And so that we knew that was important because that's what people were looking for. And so that's sort of how we started with that. We said, okay, these are the things that people are looking for. And then, somebody's asked me recently, well, that's what people are using, but if that's what they're looking for? And so my answer to that was one of the things that we did before we wireframed or anything, we sent out a survey to our community and we said, what are you looking for? Have you been to BrowardHealth.org before? Why were you there? What were you looking for? Could you find it? How easy was it to find? And that really helped us a lot because we were able to verify a little bit more what we had thought maybe in the analytics. Maybe that's really what was going on.
One thing too is from a design standpoint, we always start from the smallest screen first. So from an information standpoint, it's about defining, what fits on this thing first, and then moving out to the tablet version and then going to the full desktop version. So it's kind of the opposite of, the traditional design process, but, that doing it that way helps, really define what are the most important pieces of information that'll fit on this screen.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, it was very important for us this time to not do the graphics first. Because, usually that's what you want to dive into. It's pretty. You're like, oh, I want my banners to look like this, or I really like these colors, and you really want to brand it. And, it was really hard, especially for me, because I work in the marketing department. That's what everybody wanted to see. Nobody cared about the analytics and my charts and my graph. Like, nobody cared. They were like, well, what is it going to look like? Well, we're not there yet. We need to wireframe the site. We need to figure out where is the best place to put that button. And then we'll make it pretty. And that was a little bit of an uphill battle, but I think it's really important to make sure that the structure and the framework is there before you start putting in the things that people are going to react to. Because people are going to react, oh, I don't like the color of that button. Well, that's great, but do you like where it is? You can't do it that way. You can't. It doesn't work.
Hi, my name is Elias. I can totally relate to what you just said. I come from a contextual research and UX design background. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. So I work with a company called OneReach Health, and we facilitate intelligent communications between patients and doctors and hospitals, doing things like what we call smart caller ID, dipping into patient records and things like that, as well as some intelligent text messaging. Mm-hmm. And so the text messaging part is where my question is. You mentioned all sorts of different media and communication channels for engaging your audience and public and patients, et cetera, even having tried, of course, the main stuff, social, and even having tried QR codes. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like you left out the single most used communication channel, which is text message.
So we have tried text messaging a little bit.
Okay.
We were using it actually, well, was there a specific question before I jump into that?
I'm just curious about, why is that and what are your thoughts? What have you seen? Yeah.
Yeah, so texting is great. And with it come a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of challenges. So obviously you're limited by character limits. You have, unsubscribed things and generating the whole law around text messaging where you have to opt in first. And mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of an upfront sort of resource type challenge that we're still facing on the text messaging front. But we do actually we have our own short code. We have texted a little bit. It's been, I would say, lukewarm response on that. We did find that one of the best things that was happening was we were using it for appointment reminders. So one of our joint replacement centers, a little bit older population, they were forgetting to come in for follow-up rehab after they'd had a joint replacement. So we were using it as sort of like a don't forget you have an appointment on Monday. But it takes a lot of resources to set that up, mm-hmm. and unless we have somebody who's really dedicated to making that channel survive, it's been one of those things that's kind of just been passed around person to person, and nobody's really, taken on the ownership of the text messaging yet, so it's struggling a little bit. I do think there's a huge opportunity for it, especially with younger generations.
2 super quick follow-up questions.
Yeah.
One, you should look at automating that because you don't need someone to do it. And second of all, have you text-enabled any of your main already existing business lines or your call center or front desk?
that's a bigger issue because that has to be integrated into that call center. So we have to have a call center that is able to take on that technology.
Okay.
So with contracting and all of those things, I love it, and I think that's a really cool idea, and I think that is definitely an opportunity that we need to investigate further.
Okay.
But
Look up OneReach Health.
Yeah.
Yeah. Takes 2 seconds.
Thanks.
Cheers. Thanks.
I know that you're a nonprofit organization, and I'm interested in how well the marketing department works with your foundation and how you sort of align your messages when sometimes, I don't know if they're ever in conflict, but could you speak briefly about how you market to donors?
Yeah, so our foundation is pretty much separate from our marketing department. The foundation has its own staff. They do their own marketing. They do their own community, events and fundraisers and all of that stuff. Right now, we try and assist them whenever we can from a corporate level. So, if they need something on the website, or they, like, for example, they're really big fundraisers coming up. So we, promote it on our website to get some extra eyes on it. And as social media manager for the whole system, I'm helping them try and get their Facebook page started. But, it's really up to them to manage it and make sure that they're putting the right messaging out there and they're handling it.
So it sounds like your donors are old.
Yeah, pretty much. They've tried. They have a thing called the Young Presidents Council, which is under 40. It's done okay. It hasn't done great. There is a sort of like yuppie type target in downtown Fort Lauderdale. Getting them to engage with the hospital instead of the local pet shelter seems to be challenging. It's right now everybody loves the puppies. That's where all the people my age who have money are going to the puppies. So, getting them to come back to the children's hospital it's been an uphill battle for them, but they're trying it, and it's really cool, and there's a lot of really, really cool events. There's actually tomorrow night, which I'm so bummed that I'm missing, is it's called the Beach Bash, where they're barefoot, they have a private party on the beach. It's the best event I think they have all year, and it's great, but again, it's them being able to target the right people, and they have their own strategy and their own sort of, they want to do social, but it's making sure that whatever their strategy is aligns with their marketing tactics has been a little bit of a challenge.
I have one more quick question. Yeah. Spanish speakers, how do you handle that?
That's definitely a challenge. We have any ads that go out, not any ads, but a lot of ads that we go out, we do Spanish versions of the ads in Spanish papers. We have brochures it's not just Spanish, it's, Creole and French and Portuguese and there's a lot of languages we have to print things in. And, one of the things that, we don't have it on the site right now, but one of the things we're looking at is trying to do some sort of automated language like Google Translate or something on the site. That's definitely a challenge. We have tested some different things, is it worth having the site fully translated by a professional translator? Is it, the cost associated with those things? And right now, everybody seems to be okay with where we're at as far as, keeping the site the way that it is and then just targeting on certain channels.
So are you targeting Latinos, for example?
Yes, certainly, yes.
Digital media?
Yes, we do have, we don't have a dedicated Facebook page, but occasionally we do have several, on Twitter especially, we have several Latino channels that follow us and interact with us, and so a lot of that is Spanish speaking. It just depends on, again, it's like per channel, right? So we have to kind of we have to see what's there and test it, and if it works, then we move forward with it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, so before I ask a question, I would say beware Google Translate because it can get pretty ugly. You're going to have to proofread everything.
Yeah, we haven't tested it yet. It's on my phase 2 list, so we have to test it first.
Yeah. My question was around social media monitoring for things like, patients going online complaining about wait times or, taking a picture of the food saying, oh, this is terrible. Is that something that you guys have looked at? And if not, do you see the value in it?
Oh, yeah, you have to monitor. You have to be able to respond. So that was rough. We had a couple of them. I worked very closely with our legal department to make sure because, it's not just our online reputation. There's also laws and regulations that we have to follow if it becomes a grievance process. So I spent a lot of time with them, and we came up with a policy, and we have a standard messaging sort of guideline pamphlet that we have. So, if And I'm pretty much the one who does all of our main monitoring. Obviously, like I said, I'm 10 feet from my cell phone at any given moment, so I get every alert possible. I subscribe to hundreds of different monitoring services just to kind of like test them all out. And so I'm always getting alerts for various things. And so the process that we have right now, and which seems to be working for us, is if a complaint comes in and it looks like something that needs to be addressed, which is, I know, very subjective, but if it needs to be addressed, then I forward it on to the customer service team. They take it offline, they call that patient directly, they handle it from a customer service perspective. And then we have our standard, we apologize, customer service is calling you sort of messaging that we put out there. Google review is a little different. Some Facebook pages you can't reply. It really just depends on the situation. But yes, we do try and reply and let people know that if they're unhappy, we want to help them.
You talked about hundreds of different services. Do you find that one's better than the other at this point, or is it just...
It's so hard because of all, especially with Facebook, because of all the different privacy levels that you have. People may be saying something and I don't know about it because depending on your privacy levels, it's not going to get out there and the channels aren't going to pick it up. There's some new ones that are coming around up there. I can share them with you after the presentation, but our media relations department has a lot of standard things, like Google Alerts and other paid ones that they use, and those are starting to be better about picking things up. They're starting to get more Twitter and things like that. But no, I have in my Outlook, you can do RSS feeds in Outlook, and so I have RSS feeds for a lot of things, especially all of the geo-targeting stuff. So Foursquare and Instagram, you can do an RSS feed. So if anybody posts any picture for that location specific, it comes up in my Outlook inbox because I haven't found anybody that will send me an email when I want to know what those are. But, again, like you were saying, it's people check in and take a picture of the food and complain because it's gross, right, or made them sick or whatever. Well, if they don't tag one of our hospitals or they don't type in the name of the hospital, we don't know about it. So that's why I have the RSS feeds. It's... Right? I should invent something because I can make a lot of money because nobody seems to have been able to solve my issues that I'm having. But no, it's very challenging. And with as many social media channels as there are, plus Google Maps, plus Google Locations, plus Facebook Places, plus Foursquare, I haven't personally found one that handles across the board everything. So that's why I have so many. Each one sort of does a little thing that I want and send it to me. Yeah, I think they want it on the audio.
Hi, my name is Osama from Saudi Arabia. I just want to ask about the number and capacity of resources involved in this project.
Okay, so funny you should ask that.
Great.
When I started the Broward Health redesign process, it was me. I didn't have any staff, and I was overseeing all this other stuff at the same time, so it was me. I had, obviously, CareTech, and they have resources, and they were doing a lot of the actual technical development and the building and the coding and all of that stuff, but from the analyzing the data and the moving the site over and the changing the pages and all of the actual stuff that we had to do on our end, it was just me. I have a new specialist who I think is the greatest thing ever to have staff. And she started in January 3rd, and we launched this site January 27th. So she had a great first couple of weeks at the Broward Health. But, the resources a little thin. But we got it done.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. All right. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Have a great day.